This piece of news started making headlines all over crypto Twitter recently, and if Trump follows through on this, it will mark the start to a whole new bull market cycle, sending the entire crypto market alongside XRP to new all-time highs. Demand will be way too high and the liquidity will be way too thin, driving cryptos to market caps nobody actually thought was possible. And all of this would happen virtually overnight if something like this were to actually pass, as apparently there is a bill to remove Bitcoin capital gains taxes. And news like this technically tracks because this is what Donald Trump has said about crypto.
Together we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world.
Now, what's really interesting is that recently in Missouri, they have worked to pass a bill where there is going to be no more capital gains tax on Bitcoin, apparently XRP, stocks, and potentially even real estate. And this is according to House Bill 594. And is with all things crypto Twitter, many crypto reporters and influencers took this headline and ran with it, and are now speculating that not only does Trump like the idea, but would implement it on a federal level. But how likely is something like this going to happen? Would it happen this year? And how much truth is there to these claims that are consistently making their rounds online? Well, in this video, we'll discuss the likelihood that something like this would occur and what it would take, and also how it would affect your portfolio in the upcoming months. We'll also be discussing the final outcome on the Ripple and SEC lawsuit. It is truly over, and when we will likely see true stablecoin legislation pass not only the House and Senate, but be signed into law by Donald Trump, creating for an endless stream of institutional capital and demand for players like Ripple and their RLUSD stablecoin, which is backed one for one by cash or cash equivalents and has all of the regulatory clearance to operate all over the United States and Europe. In other words, all of these events are aligning perfectly to create an explosion in crypto by the end of the year or sooner. So let's get into the video. And if you haven't already had a chance, head on over to Bull Runners HQ on Twitter or X and be sure to check out the pinned post in order to enter our $100 worth of XRP weekly giveaway. All you need to do is follow this account, like, retweet, and comment XRP, and then subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter. It is completely random who we pick, and also we double verify that you've actually followed through with all the steps because most people do not. Just click this link, subscribe, and either way you're going to get a free ebook that unlocks the 23 secrets to becoming a crypto millionaire sent directly to your inbox. And without further ado, as always, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777, and if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PAULIEDEFI. Here we have Stuart Alderodi, the chief legal officer over at Ripple, sharing not too long ago, and I guess for some of you this might be old news, but I did want to cover it in this video, the fact that through this entire process and lawsuit with the SEC, where they had an appeal over digital sales to institutional players on whether or not that would be dropped, or whether or not Ripple would actually want to continue with the appeal process, as the ball is back in their court. So either they were going to challenge or they were going to drop it completely. But then literally just a day later, we had Brad Garlinghouse basically stating that Ripple is just ready to be done. They're going to drop the cross appeal, and that the SEC is expected to drop their appeal as they've previously stated because they are under new management. They're closing the chapter once and for all and are focusing on what's most important: building the internet of value. So what exactly is Ripple working on? Well, one of the biggest plays, in my opinion, into the next decade is going to be stablecoins and the adoption of stablecoins by many institutional players, also by many companies and businesses and banks, in order to modernize their financial technology and infrastructure. And they're going to want stablecoins that are trustworthy and backed one for one and regulated. One of those is RLUSD. And as you can see here, going back to March of this year, the market cap on RLUSD has consistently grown and climbed as demand for it has also increased. And I expect this thing to hit many billions of dollars into 2026. And so stablecoins like RLUSD can service all sorts of industries like real world assets and real estate and bonds and just far bigger markets than anything crypto has ever done. And many of these transactions are going to run on the XRPL using the XRP token as the underlying fee infrastructure token for the entire network. A lot of this value will end up in the XRP token and will drive demand for that token. Now, that's not all that Ripple has been working on, as consistently they're accomplishing bigger and new goals. As the XRPL EVM sidechain mainnet is live. Now, an EVM, for those of you guys who are newer or have heard the term but don't know what it means it's an Ethereum virtual machine, which according to CoinGecko is a computation engine that implements smart contracts and updates the state of the Ethereum blockchain. In other words, XRP is now live on Ethereum, and it's just going to create more opportunities for more players to play with the XRPL and vice versa. This opens the doors to a lot of Ethereum guys to still feel confident and comfortable using their ecosystem and security over at Ethereum, or vice versa. People that are in the DeFi ecosystem of XRP to continue doing what they're doing, but for those smart contracts to run on the EVM. Now, this has taken years of building and testing in collaboration with Persist and is now live. Now, here is what makes this so freaking unique and interesting. They're doing this to scale and extend XRPL's unique capabilities, opening the door to entirely new classes of DeFi apps spanning lending, tokenization, payments, and beyond for speed, security, and scale. And according to David Schwartz, the CTO over at Ripple, the XRP EVM sidechain introduces a flexible environment for developers to deploy EVM-based applications. In other words, they can develop on Ethereum in an EVM manner, but do it also on the XRPL while maintaining a connection to XRPL's efficiency. So things would actually be more efficient than they are on Ethereum, which would actually incentivize a lot of new growth and applications. It extends the capabilities of the ecosystem without changing the fundamentals that make the XRPL reliable. So it makes sense that Brad Garlinghouse and the team, after dealing with the SEC for so long, would honestly just want to drop the cross appeal and focus on building the internet of value. And that's exactly what they're doing. If there are any altcoins in the market or players that are going to be around likely 5-10 years from now and far more expensive than they are right now, XRP is definitely one of those tokens. Now let's dive into this major bombshell piece of news on a Trump advisor, Bailey, confirming that the US will vote tonight, which was just a day or two ago, on a bill to remove Bitcoin capital gains at a federal level. And what's interesting is, as I was doing research into this, we started getting quite a few community notes across the board by the fact that David Bailey did not confirm this case, and the fact that Bitcoin would only experience a crypto tax amendment, but not the total removal of capital gains. And I think a lot of this had to do with that news surrounding Missouri working on House Bill 594 to remove capital gains tax for crypto, stocks, and real estate. And then you even have in quote, yes, we just did that, according to a Missouri lawmaker. Now, if this is true, this would set a precedent and arguably create for a lot of demand in crypto among investors in that state that would likely pool their capital or move their businesses into Missouri for the sake of saving on capital gains. And here is a photo of that House bill. Now, it is true that we've experienced this House bill reach the ground for a vote. However, I had to do a bit of homework, and as of June 30th, the bill has not been publicly confirmed as signed into law. So everything at this moment in time is speculation. That said, I'm not too sure we're going to ever see zero capital gains tax on the entire crypto market. We might see it on something like Bitcoin, But Donald Trump being so bullish on crypto and wanting to create the crypto capital of the world, he's going to need to create some incentives for companies and institutions to buy and hold Bitcoin and crypto and XRP inside of the United States, and arguably open up the corridors for demand and innovation as well, before companies and individuals feel confident and comfortable to hold far more of these assets inside of their portfolios. In other words, this is no different than the stablecoin legislation. Just because it's passed the Senate or the House doesn't mean that it's been signed into law. So yes, this is 100% true that this bill passed the House on February 13th and the Senate on April 7th. It's now been delivered to their governor, Mike Kehoe, for his signature, but as of June 30th, there is no public confirmation that he signed the bill. So we're still going to have to wait, and there is a deadline set for this month on July 14th, and we'll find out whether or not they pass it. And if they do, again, I believe this is going to set a precedent. I believe other states are going to want to follow, and I believe this is going to create a domino effect that could potentially head to a federal level. But whether or not that happens this year is unlikely. And finally, it's looking like it's going to be a really big month for the entire crypto market, as the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says crypto stablecoin legislation could be finalized by mid-July. So if this bill passes in Missouri by July, and also we see stablecoin legislation finally passed and signed into law, I do think the crypto markets are going to be ready to explode. And already XRP seems like it's ready for a breakout, as it seems we are now potentially putting in a new trend. Our major low coming in at 195. Then we have a series of higher highs and higher lows. Here's our major low. Here's our next low. You can see that our highs were right here. We broke above this horizontal resistance and is now likely looking to be a support. So anywhere at the 220 level, I will be adding. I am no longer in shorts, and I would like to be long anywhere above that $2.33 range. That is where I'll be happy to consistently add to my position into a new bull trend, considering our major lows came back here in April. And as you can see, again, we are in an uptrend. We have our major high here, we have our low here. So our next high should reasonably come in above our prior high at 265. And this would be the start to a new bull market move to the upside. And that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and also go to bullrunners.com. You can find the link in the description below to get access to this ebook that'll unlock the 23 secrets to help you become a crypto millionaire, to build your bulletproof portfolio, to get into cryptos before they explode and pop off to the upside, and arguably just be in the top 1% of performers in the entire market. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, my friend. Goodbye.